For months, astronomers around the world had been watching a single anomaly streaking across the heavens. 3I Atlas, only the third confirmed interstellar visitor after Oumuamua and Borisov. Its glowing green tail, fed by carbon monoxide and strange nickel emissions, was puzzling enough. But on September 19, 2025, everything changed. At 2 a.m. UTC, an amateur astronomer in Chile froze as his screen revealed something that no one had expected. 9 dim but distinct objects, smaller than Atlas yet moving in perfect formation around it, like fireflies circling a lantern. At first dismissed as noise or imaging error, within 48 hours the James Webb Space Telescope, Hubble, the VLT in Chile, and Hawaii's Ke'ik Observatory confirmed the same terrifying truth. There were not 1, but 10 bodies now traveling through our solar system, synchronized, luminous, and alien. And the question quickly shifted from what is 3I Atlas to what exactly are these 9 hidden companions, and why have they arrived now? When spectroscopy data arrived, it only deepened the mystery. Each of the 9 companions displayed the same velocity and trajectory as Atlas itself, but what unsettled scientists most was their power output. Thermal modeling suggested each of these objects radiated nearly 20 gigawatts of energy, a figure that defies every known principle of astrophysics. To put this in perspective, one of these city block-sized objects generates enough power to light entire nations. Our largest nuclear reactors weigh thousands of tons to produce only a fraction of that energy, yet these bodies, no larger than a fragment of rock, radiate with the force of miniature suns. The equations refuse to make sense. Supercomputers at Caltech and MIT crashed repeatedly when fed with parameters for plasma density, pressure, and temperature. The data simply could not converge, unless these objects were powered by exotic matter, antimatter, or technologies humanity cannot yet imagine. The conclusion many feared to say out loud was unavoidable. This is not standard cometary chemistry. Something else is driving them, and that something has no precedent in the natural world. Even stranger than their power was the way they appeared. For months, every major observatory and spacecraft, NASA's Juno at Jupiter, the Parker Solar Probe near the Sun, and Bepi Colombo en route to Mercury, had been tracking Atlas with no hint of companions. Then, in a single moment lasting just 0.01 milliseconds, they were suddenly there. To put that in context, a human blink lasts 300 milliseconds. A camera flash takes 5 milliseconds. This event was 30,000 times faster than a blink and 100 times quicker than a flash of light. No telescope on Earth or in space could have caught the instant of their arrival. It was simply too fast. They did not drift into view. They did not separate gradually. They manifested, as if deployed. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb immediately invoked the mothership hypothesis, the idea that Atlas was not alone, but a carrier shedding probes upon entering our solar system. If so, then the 9 companions are not fragments at all, but drones, autonomous scouts released to map, analyze, or even interact with planets as Atlas continues on its path. Of course, not everyone accepts the technological explanation. Some, like theorist Mike Miyake, argue that Atlas could have collided with a dense interstellar rock, shattering into fragments that absorbed its velocity and energy. In this scenario, the 9 companions are simply chunks of a larger body, burning with kinetic fury as they streak through space. But critics quickly pointed out the flaws. Fragments do not radiate with nuclear-level power outputs, nor do they produce identical green tails with the same metallic spectral signature. And fragments, no matter how strong, do not appear instantaneously across a single millisecond window. The problem is that natural explanations collapse under the weight of the evidence, which leaves only the alternatives that imply technology, intent, and a purpose behind their synchronized movement. If they are machines, then the sighting of 3I Atlas was never a lone event. It was an arrival, and arrivals always imply destination. As if the discovery of 9 companions weren't enough, another interstellar giant looms on the horizon. See 2025 R2SWAN, 100 times more massive than Atlas, is plunging into the solar system from the opposite direction. Its tail spans over 2 degrees of sky, dwarfing even the greatest comets in recorded history, and it will reach perihelion within days of Atlas this October. To some, SWAN is a cosmic protector, arriving to shield us from Atlas and its drones. To others, it is part of the same mission, another component in a larger, coordinated system converging around the Sun. Historical records only amplify the unease. Chinese archives from 200 BCE speak of a heavenly dragon, Babylonian tablets describe a splitting star, and medieval chronicles tell of a green banner blazing across the night sky. If the cycle holds, then these visitors have come before, and they are due now. But this time, humanity is watching with instruments capable of seeing the truth, and the truth may be far stranger than any myth. In the weeks following their discovery, scientists began to notice something that unsettled them more than the object's mere existence: their perfect synchrony. Unlike fragments of a shattered comet, which drift and scatter chaotically, the 9 companions of Atlas moved in flawless unison, maintaining equidistant spacing as if bound by an invisible lattice. Simulations revealed that gravitational dynamics alone could not explain their stability. Solar radiation, planetary perturbations, even the magnetic tides of the heliosphere should have pulled them apart. Yet they held formation with precision that looked engineered rather than natural. Amateur astronomers comparing images taken days apart realized the companions traced geometric arcs around Atlas, angles that repeated with machine-like consistency. This led to one haunting realization: if the 9 escorts are not debris but autonomous bodies, then their configuration may not just be for travel. It may be for function, like satellites in a constellation or gears in a machine, each playing a role in a larger system we cannot yet perceive. Electromagnetic sensors soon picked up another anomaly: bursts of plasma activity oscillating between the companions. While comets naturally produce ion tails, these bursts were different. They weren't chaotic emissions but structured pulses, short bursts and long intervals repeating across multiple objects, almost like Morse code. Observatories in Hawaii and Japan confirmed that these oscillations occurred in repeating cycles. One companion would flare, then another across the opposite arc as though responding, before Atlas itself surged with light. The effect rippled across the convoy like a conversation in plasma, invisible to the naked eye but undeniable in the data. To some researchers, it looked like an interstellar form of communication, a language written not in words but in energy, where each body amplified and responded in turn. The unsettling implication was clear: if this was communication, then Atlas is not traveling alone. It is commanding, coordinating, or perhaps receiving instructions from its 9 escorts as they plunge deeper into our solar system. Then came the most chilling connection yet. During one of the plasma bursts, a directed beam appeared to strike not Earth, but the Moon. It wasn't visible light, but a spike in radio and microwave frequencies, triangulated by multiple observatories. The beam's endpoint aligned with the Mare Tranquillitatis, a region long known for strange gravitational anomalies called mascons. These dense patches beneath the lunar crust have puzzled scientists for decades, unexplained by standard geology. For centuries, the Moon has been humanity's silent witness, but the signal suggested it was more than just a bystander. Was Atlas activating something hidden beneath the lunar surface, something dormant until now? If the companions are probes, then perhaps their purpose isn't to study Earth, but to unlock what has been waiting on our nearest celestial neighbor. If that is true, then the story of Atlas is no longer about an object passing through, it is about the awakening of something far closer to home. As October draws near, orbital models reveal a terrifying convergence. Atlas and its 9 escorts, along with the massive interstellar body SWAN, will all pass within the same corridor of the solar system within days of one another. Their perihelia align almost perfectly, separated by less than 50 million kilometers, an astronomical blink of precision. To skeptics, this is impossible, a cosmic coincidence of incomprehensible odds. To others, it is evidence of scheduling, a meeting point chosen for reasons humanity can only guess at. What unsettles astronomers most is the timing of this rendezvous. The alignment occurs exactly during the superior conjunction, when the Sun blinds Earth-based telescopes and renders humanity unable to see what unfolds. This isn't just bad luck. it is choreography. And when the curtain of the sun finally lifts, revealing what remains on the other side, it may not be the same Atlas or the same 9 escorts that entered. By late September, a pattern of silence began to emerge from the very institutions tasked with revealing the cosmos. NASA released only vague updates about Atlas, claiming routine monitoring, while ESA quietly delayed its scheduled press briefing. Even more suspicious was the abrupt halt of public data from the James Webb Space Telescope, which had the ability to resolve the companions with clarity far beyond amateur setups. The few leaked frames hinted at structures sharper than dust clouds, outlines that looked deliberate, symmetrical. Yet none of these images reached official channels. Insiders whispered that directives had been issued to embargo high-resolution data until after conjunction, effectively cutting the public off from the most critical days. The result was chilling. Humanity's most powerful instruments, capable of peering billions of years into the past, had suddenly gone blind just as 9 objects appeared to escort an interstellar anomaly through our solar system. The silence itself became evidence, proof that what was being seen was too disruptive to admit openly. Mathematicians analyzing orbital data made a discovery that only deepened the unease. The 9 companions were not randomly spaced around Atlas, but arranged in a near-perfect symmetry, 3 groups of 3, equidistant in a rotating arc. This geometric precision could not be explained by gravitational binding alone. Debris doesn't hold formation for weeks, not when buffeted by solar wind and planetary pulls. And yet, the 9 maintained spacing like satellites locked into orbits around a central hub. More disturbing still, their collective geometry shifted ever so slightly as they traveled, always adapting to maintain balance, as if controlled by a shared guidance system. This wasn't chaos, this was coordination. And to some analysts, it began to look less like a natural convoy and more like a fleet, an armada moving in perfect unison across the depths of space, centered on Atlas as if it were their command ship. Radio astronomers listening to the deep background of space began noticing distortions that lined up precisely with the companions' movements. At first, these were dismissed as interference from solar activity, but filtering revealed something unsettling: patterns. Not static, not random spikes, but structured modulations repeating at intervals of 43 seconds, identical across multiple observatories on different continents. When overlaid, these signals formed harmonics, a resonance that matched the spacing of the 9 escorts themselves. In other words, the signals were not noise, they were synchronized. To skeptics, it was coincidence. To others, it looked like a network, a mesh of communication binding the 9 together and linking them back to Atlas. And if these signals truly are communication, then the objects are not silent travelers. They are talking to each other, possibly even talking to something else, unseen, waiting deeper in space. While scientists wrestled with physics and data, historians turned to the past and uncovered chilling parallels. Ancient Chinese manuscripts spoke of the 10 lights in the sky, moving as one before vanishing behind the sun. Babylonian tablets described a green star with 9 shadows that marked the end of an age. Even medieval European chronicles referenced a celestial banner that split into 9 smaller torches before fading from sight. These records, long thought to be exaggerations or poetic metaphors, now carried new weight. Were our ancestors describing the very same event? If so, then Atlas and its companions are not new at all. They are cyclical, returning across millennia, each time sparking awe, fear, and silence. And if they have been here before, then the implications are terrifying. This is not their first passage, and it will not be their last. Which raises the question, why do they keep coming back? And what happens each time they do? As astronomers studied the 9 escorts more closely, they discovered faint fluctuations in their brightness that pulsed in near-perfect unison. Unlike ordinary comets, which flare chaotically as sunlight vaporizes ices, these pulses were timed, repeating every few minutes with uncanny precision. Some compared them to heartbeat rhythms, others to coded signals. The fact that 9 separate objects, each supposedly independent, flashed in synchronization defied every natural model. Even more disturbing was that Atlas itself responded, surging in brightness shortly after each collective pulse, as if it were the nucleus of a system, receiving and amplifying signals from its companions. To call this behavior cometary is absurd. It is orchestration, a symphony of light and energy being conducted across millions of kilometers of empty space. The question is no longer whether these bodies are connected. It is whether they are functioning as parts of something larger, something alive, or something designed. Just as independent observatories began documenting these pulses, a strange phenomenon unfolded. Images, spectra, and telemetry uploaded to public servers began disappearing within hours of being posted. Amateur astronomers complained that their accounts were flagged, their files taken offline without explanation. Even data mirrored across private forums vanished, as if targeted by unseen sensors. The phenomenon wasn't limited to one country. It spread globally, from Europe to Asia to South America. When pressed, agencies claimed it was routine maintenance or server errors, but the timing was too precise. Information about Atlas and its 9 companions was being scrubbed in real time. What remained online were blurry, low-resolution images, while the sharpest, clearest frames had been locked away. It became obvious. Someone, somewhere, was ensuring that the truth of this convoy would not be seen by the public, not until it was too late to ignore. Adding to the dread was the timing of their approach. As predicted, the convoy would reach its point of greatest activity during superior conjunction, the period when the sun blocks Earth's view of their trajectories. This solar curtain meant that just as the 9 escorts and Atlas neared perihelion, where their behavior would peak, they would vanish from our instruments, hidden behind the sun's blinding glare. Some astronomers dismissed this as unlucky coincidence. Others began to suspect it was deliberate, that the trajectories had been chosen to exploit this window of invisibility. For weeks, Earth would be blind to their actions, unable to record what unfolded in the one place where their convergence reached its climax. When they finally re-emerged on the other side of the sun, humanity would not know what had transpired. Were they still 9? Were they changed? Or would they emerge as something entirely new, something born in the hidden furnace of the solar cauldron? As days passed and the blackout window approached, tension spread not just through observatories but through ordinary people watching the sky. Reports circulated of strange formations, lights flickering near Atlas visible even to the naked eye in dark sky regions. Online forums overflowed with speculation, some convinced we were witnessing the arrival of an interstellar fleet, others insisting it was a natural cycle humanity had forgotten. Governments stayed silent, while military tracking stations quietly shifted resources, their classified sensors now aimed squarely at the sun. The world seemed to hold its breath, caught in the paradox of knowing something monumental was unfolding above us, yet being powerless to see it in full. It was a waiting game, one humanity had no choice but to play, hoping that when the objects emerged from behind the sun, they would still resemble what they were when they entered. But deep down, many feared the truth, that what returns will not be the same as what was hidden. What began as the detection of a single green anomaly has transformed into a revelation that defies everything we thought we knew about the cosmos. 3I Atlas is no longer a solitary traveler. It is the center of a formation, a convoy of 9 hidden companions that manifested in less than the blink of an eye, now pulsing, communicating, and moving in perfect synchrony as they plunge deeper into our solar system. Their geometry is deliberate, their energy output impossible, their timing precise to the very day when Earth's eyes will be blinded by the sun. Every fragment of evidence points not to randomness, but to purpose. The silence of our institutions speaks louder than words. Data has been withheld, images scrubbed, signals dismissed. And yet the fragments that slip through paint a chilling picture. These are not fragments, not debris, not chance. They are escorts, probes, machines, call them what you will. But they are not drifting aimlessly. They are accompanying something, guarding something, or preparing for something. And the fact that their rendezvous coincides with the arrival of the colossal SWAN only deepens the sense that we are not witnessing nature at work, but a mission unfolding on a scale beyond our comprehension. Perhaps humanity is the unintended observer, catching sight of an operation never meant for our eyes. Perhaps ancient civilizations saw this same formation and encoded it in their myths of dragons, banners, and torches in the sky. And now, with technology capable of pulling back the veil, we have stumbled into a truth that our ancestors could only hint at in symbols and warnings. The most unsettling truth is not what we already know, it is what we don't. Because once the solar curtain lifts, once Atlas and its escorts emerge from behind the sun, they may not be the same as when they entered. They may be altered, activated, or joined by something far greater. And when that happens, humanity will no longer be asking what they are. We will be forced to confront what they want. For the first time, we are not watching the universe as passive bystanders. We are witnesses to a convoy, deliberate and alien, moving through our solar system with intent. And that realization changes everything. Because if they have come before, and if they are here again, then the question is no longer if they will return. The question is, what happens when they finally decide to stop?